I'm here to scare you about osteoporosis as a runner. Yes, I know that sounds dramatic, but more women suffer from osteoporosis than they do breast cancer. It's extremely detrimental to life, your activities of daily living, and of course, your running as well. You may be wondering why we're talking about osteoporosis and we're standing in a kitchen. One, it's because I am terrible at cooking and baking and Nikita's going to help me. And two, it's because when Nikita was telling me about a sourdough starter, there are so many similarities between how to look after your sourdough starter and how to look after your bones. So let's get into it. Nikita, tell me about this sourdough starter.
Cool. Okay, so this is my sourdough starter. To take care of the starter and feed it to ensure it survives, you've got to give it the right amount of flour, the right amount of water, and you've got to keep it in a warm, cozy environment.
What happens if you don't feed it?
It dies.
It dies?
It dies.
Okay, so I mean, I know nothing about cooking, but what I love about this is exactly what happens to your bones. If you don't look after them and give them the nutrition and the sort of load that they require, they slowly die as well. Okay, so what happens if this dies though?
So it goes black.
Okay. But
you can revive it. It's not the end of the world. You've just got to make sure you add the perfect amount of flour and water.
Awesome. Okay, so again, and we'll get into this in a little bit more a bit later in the video, but that's the same thing with osteoporosis. If you are starting much later in life with some strength training or looking after your bones aren't going to turn black and just die. You can revive them with a little bit of effort and love as well. So the way we got to this is essentially Nikita was telling me about a friend of hers who's worried about getting osteoporosis. Yeah.
Yes, so she knows her mom and her gran have osteoporosis and she's worried. What does this mean for her?
How old is your friend?
Yeah, she's my age, 25.
Yeah, so I mean definitely for all females in general, your bone loss starts within your mid to late 20s and slowly declines by about 0.5% per year.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
per year.
Per year. So, you know, from your 20s or your late 20s, you're losing 0.5% of bone mass per year. As you get closer to menopause, 3 to 5% per year alone. So it really, really is. I know I sounded a bit melodramatic at the beginning, but it really, really is pivotal that you look after your bones early on, all the way through menopause and beyond.
Well, Shona, this is my friend, but is it the same for me?
I mean, yes and no, right? So I think as females, we all have a very big risk, but they're different risk factors. So her genetics play a massive role in pointing towards this for her in osteoporosis as a high risk. But there are other risk factors, things like alcohol consumption, smoking, inactivity, strength training, all of those different factors are going to play a role in whether or not you're at a high risk for osteoporosis. And so really what I'm trying to get at here is if you have a daughter, a niece, a friend, anyone who's female and within that sort of age bracket, you want to say to them, start looking after your sourdough starter. So start looking after your bones so that they can continue to thrive and we can make a divine sourdough bread. So back to our sourdough starter. Let's jump back there.
This specific starter was actually dead when I got it.
Okay.
I nurtured it back to life.
Amazing.
With water and flour and the right temperatures and TLC.
Awesome. Good. Okay.
And look at it now.
I mean, it means nothing to me, but that's fine. That's good. So as long as you're trusting that process, I think what I just want to sort of relate here is that it's not too late to start. If you have not done strength training, if you have not done the right sort of nutrition and you're worried about your bone health, it's never too late to start. We can revive that by starting to incorporate strength training, starting slow and building that up over time. And then we can, again, just be healthy and get a really awesome bread out of it.
So like to feed the starter, I used water and flour. Are those the equivalent of strength training and nutrition for osteoporosis?
Yeah, 100%. We have to be doing strength training. And then the key thing here is the type of strength training, right? So you're not going to just add in any kind of flour. There's many different types of flour. I'm sure you have your specific one that you like. The specific type of strength training that we're referring to is resistance training. Your bones require a load on them in order to stay healthy. And so by doing a type of resistance training, you're pushing your bones against a form of resistance. That loading is important. And people often say, okay, well, cool, I'm running. I do run. That's awesome. But running's linear, and so it's a right foot, left foot, right foot's running forward, and the bones require a bit of a multi-directional force on them in order to survive. So definitely I would almost equate the strength training to the flour, right? And your water going in here to the nutrition. Nutrition is just absolutely vital here as well. So you need both. You can't just put flour in or just water, right? It has to be both. Yeah. So the same thing here. You have to have your strength training, because that is the load on the bones that's going to keep them healthy. And then you have to have the water as well, which is essentially your nutrition. And so things like calcium intake, vitamin D is really, really vital as well. You have to ensure that you're getting enough vitamin D. So people in the Northern Hemisphere, ensure that they're getting supplements if they're not getting enough sun. And so those are just two components of nutrition that are going to complement the strength training and really help you with the state of your bones.
Okay, so we're basically done here.
Cool.
We're going to cover it, leave it for a few days for it to change shape.
Okay.
And then we can pop it in the oven.
Again, this analogy, I'm loving it. It's exactly how your bones work as well. Your bone is constantly remodeling. With that extra load and with the good nutrition, it's constantly remodeling. And so while we'll never, or perhaps never get it back to that 100% kind of value, the goal here is to just not let it decline so dramatically. So in conclusion here, we've done all the bits we need to for the sourdough bread. I'm not actually certain I really comprehend that completely. I've still got Nikita here. But the same goes for your bones and to help prevent osteoporosis. You have to ensure that you're doing the right kind of strength training. You have to ensure you've got the right nutrition, building that all together, and you're going to have a healthy set of bones starting today. Oh, that looks amazing. Right, it's one thing knowing what to do, it's a whole other thing implementing it. And this is exactly the same for you and your running. We are hosting a free masterclass. It's called Running Through Menopause. If you want to book your seat there, click on the link on screen now.